Water, we won't have a
We are live
crisis.
now. We are live now.
I'm sorry.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this brand new session. And this happens to be our last session for our month-long celebration for Women's History Month. Um, I'm very delighted to invite and welcome Aruna ma'am and Aashisha for this conversation that they are going to have with Lalitha. And before I pass on the baton to Lalitha, I just wanted to give you a brief about her. Lalitha is an avid blogger and aspiring author. She has worked with the global FMCG Unilever in the finance domain for 11 years. And soon, Microsoft Excel paved the way for Word, and she began to pursue her passion for writing. She writes on several online platforms, and her pieces are published in various anthologies and the Hitawara newspaper. She won the runner-up for the Women's Web Orange Flower Award in 2023. Her upcoming debut book is on parenting humor. Lalitha is an electronics engineer from Kerala University and has completed her master's from IIT Delhi. She currently lives in Singapore with her family, and when she is not writing, she loves to read, play the violin, and design rangolis, all the while thinking about her next story. And we usually at Penmancy call her the drama queen of Penmancy. And it's lovely to have you all here, and we're all set to have a very engaging and an interesting conversation, because the topic for today is actually something that we all relate to very well. Women in writers in the workforce. We'd like to know more about your experiences through this conversation. Over to you, Lalitha.
Thank you, Kajal, for that lovely introduction. And hey, what's life without a little drama, huh? So, namaste and good evening. Welcome to the fourth and final episode of Pen Connect with women authors. This celebrates women writers and their achievements in the Indian literary space. Pen Connect is brought to you by Penmancy, and our official gifting partner is Earthbasket. In this final episode of Pen Connect, we will be celebrating women writers in the workforce who have penned memoirs or stories based on their career experiences. And today we have two esteemed authors on our panel, Aruna Dhir and Aashisha Chakraborty. Welcome, Aruna. Welcome, Aashisha. It's wonderful to have you here. I'm delighted to have you both here. Aruna, I think you're on mute. Were you saying, yeah.
Thank you, Lalitha. Thank you, Penmancy. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Pleasure is ours. I'm delighted to have both of you, Aruna and Aashisha, here. Let me take a quick moment to introduce you to our viewers. Aruna Dhir is a recognized corporate communication specialist, PR strategist, and writer. She is the author of the best-selling memoir, Hotel Adventures with the Stars, published by Vishwakarma Publications. It has been acclaimed as a one-of-a-kind memoir, and it has been endorsed by legends like Ruskin Bond himself. Aruna's hotel experiences include leading the marketing communications and public relations portfolio for the properties of the Oberoi Group and the Hyatt International. She is the first ever creative writer for Archie's Greetings and Gifts Limited. She is considered one of the finest and highly followed international hospitality writers, with her columns appearing in top-ranked global hospitality publications. Aruna grew up in Dehradun and has chosen Delhi as her second home. She is currently engaged on several social awareness projects and on working on several fiction and non-fiction projects. Thank you, Aruna, for being here today.
Thank you. Merci.
Let me now introduce Aashisha. Aashisha Chakraborty is a PM Yuva writer and Write India winner, whose best-selling debut novel, Misadventures of a Sales Girl by Rupa Publications, is loosely based on her experiences as a sales manager. Her second book is a work of historical fiction, which was recently launched. It is titled The 13-Year-Old Queen and Her Inherited Destiny, and it was launched at the World Book Fair by Nobel laureate Annie Ernaux. She has written for different Readomania anthologies and ebooks by Women's Web and Inside IIM. Her articles have appeared in The Hindu, and she is a winner of the Delhi Poetry Festival. Aashisha is a compulsive reader, a Kathak dancer, and an avid traveler. She is an MBA from IIFT New Delhi and a computer engineer from Jamia Millia Islamia. She likes to blog on her online diary of sorts, The Mind Bin. Welcome, Aashisha. Welcome to our panel today.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. Super happy.
So, ladies, this is a really impressive list of accomplishments. And let me tell the audience that this is actually a compressed list of the bios to save time. And they have a very, very long list, which I would love to cover here, but we will take it up in the discussion. I've read both of your books, by the way, and I've been like blown away by the relatability of the experiences, the power of your words, the simplicity and the elegance. And I'm really looking forward to dissecting each detail and learning from it as well. Audience, I want to remind you that today there are 4 books to be won at the end of the session. So please keep asking questions. We will pick up questions and we will ask our panelists at the end of the discussion as to what their top questions were. 4 books to be won, so let's be engaged. Okay. So without further ado, let's kick off the session. The questions will be common to both of you, at least the first set of questions. I'll get both of your views and then we'll cover the specific questions and we'll also take audience questions in between. So the first question that I have is, Aruna, your book was written as a memoir where you're the narrator. It was written in first-person point of view and you've written your experiences. Aashisha, you've written your experiences, or you've weaved your experiences in a story format in actually being your protagonist. What was the reason that each of you had for this approach, fiction or non-fiction, and why do you think that particular approach would suit your memoir better? So shall we start with you, Aruna, for your views, and then we move to Aashisha for the same question.
Well, the format of my book dictated that I, take up the first-person narrative, and they're all personal experiences through my life, through my hotel years, through my encounters with some fantastic, famous names in different fields, in different walks of life. And the stories were such they're so, personal, yet with a very general appeal. Still, the narrative was, meant to be in the first person. It was the best way the stories could be told, really. I did not want to, fictionalize it. I did not want to, introduce another character. I was the protagonist telling some fantastic, entertaining, fascinating stories that were fun to, read and narrate as well. And I think the first person account was the best approach for the memoir such as this.
And Aashisha, why this fiction-based approach? Could have even written my experiences in sales. So why did you choose Inakshi as your protagonist?
So, for Aruna ma'am, it makes a lot more sense because loads of celebrities were involved. For me, I think I'm still working in the same company. So, and
Yes.
it's been 5 years, 6 years, in fact. I've had this work experience of about 6.5 years. So I don't think I'm that old in the corporate world to actually write a memoir. This is what I felt. But all the same, I feel that every woman, every person who sets out to achieve her dreams, or an MBA grad, or even an engineer. So women who've taken up topics which are maybe not that particular or focused on, what traditionally people have called are typically women-centric. So, for example, STEM courses, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and sales and marketing. All of these are supposed to be, they are viewed as male-dominated bastions. So I felt that the story needed to be told, and before I could forget, I should quickly pen it down. So Inakshi seemed like a good enough protagonist, and I could infuse her with a lot of drama, which my life probably lacked at that point of time. So if I had just written my life about my life, it would have been pretty boring, by the way. It was just work, work, and work. So there was some spice and some fun needed. So I think that was my reason.
And Ashisha touched upon a little important topic with regard to autobiographies or memoirs, and that was that you're still working in the company. And when you write memoirs and you're associated with a lot of people, or you're featuring a whole lot of people in your autobiographical account, not just the first person or third person account approach. What is also important, and it's an underlining rule in memoirs, is that you don't want to, you want to identify people to an extent. But if there are certain people from the inner circle, the innermost circle that you're talking about, and you are going to touch upon sensitive issues or hoary issues or something which would, put the person in a spot, then you could, you have the freedom to just, either fictionalize their names or maybe just give initials. So if Ashisha were to, feature in my memoir, I had the liberty to call her an AC, or maybe call her Inakshi, and sort of get away from, getting into a complicated situation when one writes a memoir. I just wanted to add that point here.
It's a very interesting point you make, because I do have a question related to that in my list of questions, which I will pick up. So one thing that stands out in both of your books is the honesty with which they've been written, right? So Aruna ma'am, you don't sugarcoat your words. You call out the celebrities who have been throwing tantrums and who have given
Yes.
you a difficult time. And
Yes.
similarly, Ashisha, you've talked about the barriers like language, like somebody who goes to the south, they don't have a proper induction, they don't have proper sanitation or menstrual facilities for women on the ground. And it takes a certain amount of courage to, not sugarcoat and not be afraid and just, put that out there. And I think such honesty makes a powerful impact, but it's versus political correctness. So what do you think should be the approach? How do you strike that tactical balance? You could use initials, but at the end of the day, people know what you're talking about. And Aruna ma'am, in your case, you've been like blunt saying the celebrity did this and that, right? And has anyone come back to you saying, questioning or debating a particular point in any of your books or challenging what has been written? And it's going to be difficult for you too, because a memoir is something that's so honest and from your heart, and someone is coming and saying, no, I don't think I agree with this. So then how do you react to all of that, and how do you portray that
Eh,
with honesty and courage?
the first point that you yourself mentioned is honesty. So when you are writing, when you're being candid, when you're writing with a certain amount of candor, yet it is highlighted with honesty. There's very little scope for people to come and sort of, lock their horns with you and say, but you said this and but you said that, because at the end of the day, you've given the facts as they were. I give a little example about the Shabana Azmi chapter. That is kind of critical, of certain aspects of the celebrity, and one has given the facts as they were, and so much that it's difficult for Ms. Azmi to perhaps counter that or sort of negate that, right? So it is important if you're being honest, and if you're being sort of, if the story is allowing you to do that without being, I feel, in memoirs, without being unnecessarily sensational or hyping something or creating drama around it, you can still say your word and still sort of convey your experience in a nice manner without sort of stepping on toes and picking out issues with people, really. Some colleagues have mentioned in a certain fashion, in
Yeah.
not absolutely, I guess, happy, pleasant manner. But that's all right. That's part of the life cycle. In offices and in interactions, those things are bound to happen. So people must take that with a pinch of salt and move on, and be happy that they were written about. After all, it's a legacy for life, right? So they've mentioned the book after all. So I think it's all right.
Ashisha,
And
what
then
is
at
your
the
view?
yeah,
Sorry,
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 no,
go on.
go ahead. No,
So
no,
go
it's
on, go
okay.
on.
I was just going to say that thankfully in Hotel Adventures with the Stars, there's not been too much of critical aspect to it, or too much of bad, because one had to counter or one had to encounter meet that kind of badness in people to write all that bad stuff. Thankfully, my stories were not to do any of that. They were nice, happy stories, and
I
then
think your stories are
pleasantly
mostly
written. But
uplifting and
yeah,
positive, and
yeah,
yeah.
correct,
There were a
correct.
few
So
examples that were still very brave of you to include, but I think overall it was very
absolutely, that's
uplifting.
right, that's right, that's right, that's right. Over to you, Ashisha.
So I noticed Natasha's comment, and I think I'll come back to that later about all the drama that's been lacking. So, by the way, no one's life is, I think, lacking in any drama. There was a lot of drama, but well, coming to the question, yes, it's always difficult to deal with this political correctness, and I think this question first occurred to me when I started writing the book. No, I started pitching the book because I'd already written it. I mean, you can't help, a writer cannot help writing. So we mostly end up penning down the things we feel and the things we are very passionate about. But to bring that out to the world and to make it public and to be brave enough to be known for what we are saying, I think that requires a certain amount of courage. And 4 years ago, I decided that I didn't care enough that uh, I was not really making a mistake by saying this because I was not lying. and the story needs to be told. And if not today, maybe some other day, some other person would be telling the story. Once, so a colleague of mine, in fact, she's also quite interested in writing, but she also thought that maybe I should not mention such things, or I should not write such things, and she's still in that dilemma. I'm kind of more of a risk taker. I don't think so much before doing something. Maybe it's the thing about I don't know, this age, or perhaps something else, but I wanted the truth to be out. And believe you me, just yesterday, and I'm not kidding, this is not I mean, this is not a falsehood or anything, but the HR BP, the HR partner, she's the head of HR in my division, and she came up to me and she said, there are more. We are increasing the diversity because we have a KPI right now. So we have this target right now of increasing diversity, and I want you to speak to all the new sales managers that we've got, some female sales managers that we've thought of recruiting. So I would love you to, speak it out there, because we loved your book. So that was heartwarming, and that would not have happened. It's a small step towards, one thing. I'm not saying I started it or I made it happen, but it's a small step. It's one step ahead, and somebody else might come and, add something to it, and then it might be a better situation for someone else. Similarly, one CEO of a particular division also came to me and said, you should go to schools and tell them how you managed the whole thing of sales. So at that point of time, when you're facing all this, it seems really tough, and it seems really it's super encroaching, and you don't feel like going ahead with it, and you want to bury the past and move on, never come back here again. Those are the things that happened to me, and I'm sure must have happened to other people. But what I felt was someone should learn from it, either I or someone else. So that's probably why I wrote it. And yeah, there was this balance to be struck. I kind of course, I utilized and made this balance by, writing fiction instead of non-fiction. So I think that's where it came from.
Aashisha, I think it was a small step for a writer, but it was a giant leap for our tribe, because we need more women out there in STEM and in male-dominated professions. So kudos to you for that.
I'm so glad you said that. Thank you.
Aruna, I have a question from Khushbu here. Your assorted experiences must have spanned over a long time. You keep a diary to record them, or are the anecdotes fresh from your mind? A very interesting question.
That's a very interesting question, and when I was asked this question previously, some of the people did not believe it. But as the things turned out, there was no diary maintained at all. And they really it was a memoir in the truest sense of the word. All the stories came out from memories. Memories kept fondly in one corner of my mind. Some memories that I would visit and revisit, so they were sort of kept fresh as well. So there was no diary that was maintained, but for two people really, Zohra Sehgal, who sort of features in my book. I did sort of do a written interview with her as well, and a whole lot of things was mentioned in my notebook, and I could go back to it and refer to it when I was designing her chapter. The other person was Paul Theroux, the famous writer. Again, I had sort of interviewed him for the Oberoi magazine when I was working with the Oberoi group, and those were the notes that I could have gone back to had I featured Paul Theroux in my book. But apart from these two, there was no sort of written sort of diary maintained really. So it's all from the interesting parts of my mind which kept alive, and which kept coming back to me when I was thinking about those people and writing about them, and sort of weaving the episodes with the dialogues that happened in real time, and mentioning those incidents as well. So really off from the memory.
And sometimes when you write, things get jogged in your memory, things that you would have forgotten come alive, and then you remember
Yes, yes,
fine details.
absolutely, absolutely. That's so true, so true.
There is a comment here from Shubham Joshi. He says, I'm inspired to write about my last banking job. So similarly, I have some feedback. Like I've been going through the Amazon reviews of both your books. So Aruna, in your review comments, you have many people coming and saying that you make a career in hotel industry sound very attractive, right? Or very interesting, and you get to meet so many famous people. And Aashisha, for you, we had so many women coming ahead and saying that thank you for highlighting the challenges of sales. Now we're more informed and we're more inspired. When you were writing some of these experiences, did you think that you would be out there inspiring so many women from a career point of view? Because typically sales or hospitality leadership are not really fields which are dominated by women. There are more men than women. As per stats, it's roughly around 30% only. So did you think when you were writing these memoirs that one day this is going to go and inspire women? And was that the intent while penning them down?
You want me to take that?
It's for both of you. So whoever, Aruna, you can start, and then Aashisha next. Yeah.
That's a very, very interesting question from Tribhu ma'am, from you, and I hope the book is taken in that light as well, and it encourages a lot of people to get into hospitality, because it is a wonderful sector to sort of grow in and find your feet in. And you're right, there are not too many women in the hospitality sector, especially higher up in the higher echelons. Really, you don't have too many women leaders there. So if women want to make a career out of hospitality by reading my memoir, it'll be a very, very happy outcome, of Hotel Adventures of the Stars. But to be honest, I did not, write with that thought in mind. The thought that I really did write with was that, because I was talking about famous names, and famous names are always exemplary for us. They're very emulative. We want to, look at them, we sort of admire them, we adulate them, we want to, ape them. So one important facet that I had in mind was that I want to bring out some, absolutely important, significant life lessons. And when readers have come back, and you mentioned the reviews, a lot of reviews talk about that, a lot of my stories leave intentionally, unintentionally, important life lessons that one can latch on to and sort of acquire and adapt in their own lives. That aspect I'm very, very happy about. One wanted to do that with the stories. They're very human stories. It shows the human aspect of the celebrities mentioned in the book, away from their screen personas. And so if people are picking up on the life lessons and relating to what the celebrities have been like in their real life, and what lessons they could impart, I'm very happy about that. And if there's an offshoot of women taken to hospitality by reading the memoir, that's the icing on the cake. I'd love that to happen for you. Thank you.
I think ma'am is absolutely correct. If the book really serves to inspire more women to get into sales or to get into hospitality, I think my purpose is served. And initially, of course, I did not think that it would really reach out to so many people or would garner that many reviews. But I definitely wanted it. I definitely hoped for it. That at least it reached somewhere so that more people could at least get to know what it's all about. And there's the stigma around listening to a woman or being ordered by a woman, and not every person feels comfortable being listening to orders by a woman. Very few women leaders would be found in areas such as sales and marketing you will still find, but sales and ops and all these factory jobs and stuff. So I think it was uplifting for me as well to write about something like that, because then it paves the way, it creates more examples, and people think it's doable. Other women think that, yeah, if so many
Yeah.
people have done it, now we can do it. I mean, Arundhati Bhattacharya and Indra Nooyi and all these people, uh, they made it happen for us. They showed us the way that, yes, if we could do it, you can do it too. And it's wonderful. I mean, I would love it if it really inspires more people.
Excellent. There's one more question. Okay, Aashisha, there's a question from Natasha. When you think of the sequel, will you be maintaining the sales marketing setting?
Absolutely, I will. I mean, the whole thing revolves around that. So I'm gonna keep the setting. And I remember Natasha's comment that day as well when she replied. I mean, she reviewed my book and she said that, I want something to happen. So the sequel is coming. Maybe next year, maybe the year after that, but it's definitely coming. And yes, the sales and marketing part is going to be there, but it's going to be there in a much bigger way, because now the whole, the headquarters are going to be in the picture. So you can imagine the whole political environs and the ambience. So yes, I will be maintaining the settings.
There's one question for you, Aruna, here. Natasha's on a roll here. Among all your fab experiences, how did you decide which one to keep and which one to discard? Aruna, we can't hear you. Are you on mute?
Yes, yes. I unmuted myself right away. Natasha, that's a nice question, really. Um, the decision, went to my fantastic literary agent Suhail Mathur of the Book Bakers, because when I began working on the book, I just did not stop, because you're right, as a hotel person, one has met so many people, so many interesting people, right from royalty to politicians to sports people to who have you, really. So I was clocking on, and he would say, can we just sort of wrap it up now? The books must come out. And actually, at the end of about 1 year and 3 months and 10 days, one had clocked in 1,40,000 words, and talked about 52 celebrities, which were again filtered down from a wide sort of bunch of bouquet of people that one could have talked about. And out of those 52, it was Suhail who said that let's first concentrate on these 27 celebrities, because they may have a more sort of general appeal with the masses, with the readers, and they would be identified much more than say somebody else. And so that's how the choosing and the filtering and the selection happened. And these 27 fantastic people feature in the sequel. And like Aashisha said, perhaps there's a sequel in store, which we'll talk about other set of people. But yeah, we zeroed on to these, and we essentially chose a lot of Bollywood people also, because the Indian interest um, rests on the trifecta of Bollywood, politics, and religion. And I think Bollywood took the cake, here. So here you have the first one, really,
The
the first
glitterati, the
part of the
who's and
book.
who of
Yes,
cinema.
yes, absolutely. That's right. That's right.
And actually, there's one common thread that binds all three of us. All three of us are associated, we are represented by Mr. Suhail Mathur of the Book Baker. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Cheers for him,
My next question is about the standards of leadership. So, if I look at both of your books, whether it's a narrator or the protagonist here, or yourself, Aruna ma'am, both demonstrate exemplary standards of leadership, right? So, for example, to let our readers know, there was a the teppanyaki grill concept was new, and this had to be promoted. So Aruna came up with a new concept of getting celebrities to cook. So celebrities like Khushwant Singh and Kapil Dev, who are never, I mean, you would really not expect to see them cooking in a in a
Correct.
kitchen there, right? So that was out of the box idea, and I'm sure when you bring out an out of the box idea to the management, it takes a certain amount of convincing. Or like when you try to get permission for Meera and I to shoot Monsoon Wedding at the Oberoi, right? So these are examples of difficult situations. And similarly, Aashisha, if I look at Inakshi, she's in a team which is full of men. She doesn't speak the language, and she could have easily been sidelined, right? But yet she made her presence felt. Whether it was like going around on the ground, she didn't shy away from it, and she gave a very impactful presentation, right? If I were to ask today in the workforce, what do you think are the biggest roadblocks in women being seen and heard, and how do you think they should overcome them?
It's still, you're right, it still happens in board meetings. Your voice does get drowned. Even if you have good ideas, and you want to be sort of, there will be a din from the male colleagues, which will drown out your voice. They will not sort of give you that sort of space and regard and opportunity. So I think you really, the first thing that boils down to is, how self-sure are you? One, you have to be bloody good at your job. It really comes from that. If you are delivering good results, if you are going beyond the ask, if you are going beyond the brief, and you know that your space is important in the corporate matrix, you will have to have a voice. And if you are coming up with good ideas on the table, then you will not allow anybody to quell that important point of view that you want to present as well. So yes, there is a bit of a pull and push that you have to really go through. But one, you have to be good at your job. Then you have to have that confidence that what you're saying is important. A lot of times we women are conditioned to think that, even from our home, that oh, maybe the husband or maybe the father said a better thing. Are we adding value or not? It does come from that sort of old conditioning as well. So you have to first be able to fight that within, and kill those demons that may be sort of harboring inside, and then come out and tell the world that I have an important role as well, whether it's PR or sales or marketing or HR or what have you. And what I'm bringing to the table is as important and significant. So really, it is, and over time, I think the colleagues, the male colleagues, begin to identify and respect that. At least that's what happened. That's what happened with me. I remember there was a national poll that was being done by Indian Express, amongst the PR. It was a voting for the best PR people in the industry nationwide, and yours truly had sort of won that national poll. But I remember Dilip Cheran, who was the god of PR and image industry in the country. He made a very nice comment. He was one of the people who was spoken to about his feedback on the PR people in the industry. And one comment he made, and that took me by surprise, really. And he said that Aruna has a very good, catch with the management. She has a very good hold on the management. And for somebody from outside to be able to relate to that and recognize that and see that, that was a fantastic, comeback for me. So if women leaders can manage, it wasn't intended. I wasn't planning to sort of, have a hold on management and make sure that the management heard me. There was no sort of, tussle and fight or work towards that direction. It all came out from one's work, how one dealt with it, how one delivered on the KPIs, how one sort of, and thankfully in professions like sales or PR or marketing, your work is very visible. What you do is very tangible. People can see it. People can, rate you on that. There's an open barometer. So I think the idea is to be able to really outdo yourself and really, do the best of what you can, and then of course talk about it. Let people know as well. And if you've done that, I think you do manage to have a strong voice in the corporate sector.
Interesting. Aashisha, what is your view?
So I think ma'am has given in a nutshell, she's given the secret to making it work and making it big. If I talk about the challenges, the kind of challenges that I've faced, or the kind of challenges that I see women facing on a daily basis, the first and the most important would be the self belief that many women lack. And it's astounding to see at the same level, a man and a woman, when they are together at the same level, the woman would have every woman I've ever met. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm trying not to generalize, but almost every woman I've ever met has second guessed herself sometime or the other in her life, thinking that maybe, it's called like an imposter syndrome, that maybe she's not good enough, that maybe she's not done enough. There's this guilt trip that keeps happening, that I've not done enough, maybe I need to do more, maybe I need to do more. And then the society perpetuates that belief that yes, this is what we require from you. In fact, I don't know if it was a Deloitte survey or something, but in one of my articles I even wrote about the unpaid work that women have to do, especially in India. It's far more than the unpaid work that men have to do, and that makes a huge difference. And you can't make it in the corporate world or in any kind of a career if you spend 5 hours just doing, I don't know, caregiving activities or other things. There needs to be a good support system, not just in the family at home, but also around you. And believe you me, I feel that we all come from privileged backgrounds and we really have not even borne the brunt of it. But the people who actually bear the brunt, and there are working women there, but not in good sectors, they will be doing daily wage stuff, and they'll be going to they'll be going to these I don't know, very shady places, and just to make two ends meet and stuff. So what I feel the challenge of a woman today who wants to work is that to find the kind of work that she loves to do, and in an environment which is safe enough for her to do it. Because in a lot of places I see women just doing it because this is, I need the money, or I need to get there. Or you are constantly looking for something, you're constantly looking for either validation or a better position or a better environment, less toxic culture, less toxic people. So I think that needs to change, and it's a difficult thing. Of course, it can't happen overnight, it can't happen in 10 years also, it'll have to happen slowly. And I think one of these change maker movements could be stories coming out, more stories appearing in the open, more such discussions in the public sphere where people talk about these things openly, so that it's not a taboo anymore. So that even if a woman comes out, so even posh as a policy in the corporate did take up, but it's difficult to say sometimes what is casual sexism and what is posh. I
Absolutely.
mean, what do you say if someone tells you that, oh, I didn't expect this insight from you being a girl? Wow, what an insight. It's a backhanded compliment. What do you mean being a girl? I did not expect this from you. So little instances of casual sexism keep piling up, and then at the end of the day you're not
Absolutely.
happy and you want to exit it. So these are some of the challenges that I feel, despite the progress that we all have made, I think these challenges remain worldwide, and a lot of such discussions, a lot of such stories coming out can definitely help to counter them. But most of all, I think it's important for women to support each other, because only then can they grow together. As ma'am said, board meetings, even we still have less than 20% of women in boardrooms, less than 20% of women entrepreneurs. So that definitely needs to change.
Very well said,
You
Ashika.
know,
Very well said.
I think that it's not just women who are gaslighting the other women. It's really individuals. I remember, and also, Ashisha made a very important point about women at different levels and in different sectors and different industries. But even if if we call ourselves privileged and we have been at certain levels and have been in certain industries, I know that I have been, by the nature of my job and the role I was, asked to perform, I have been the head of department in every hotel, for example, I worked in, because I was always heading the PR and communications division. So it wasn't a junior, role from any point of view. But even in my case, I remember that, and it happens with women in all sort of strata. Um, a female colleague was so sort of insecure, and I had a sort of dotted line to her, and she would, and this happens a lot in the corporate world. She wanted to take away what I would do, and I was new in that role, and she would want to, and I mentioned that in one of the stories, especially the story on Madhuri Dixit, if you remember, Lalita. She would want to sort of,
Yeah.
take on and take credit for my work, and take material from me, literally from our hands, and run to the owners to show that it was her work, and it was happening at that senior level, and this is so common in teams. People want to snatch away credit from their colleague, and ingratiate themselves, with the boss, and make somebody else's work their own. At another hotel, a sales head wanted to, because PR and communications can also come under, at least from the financial point of view, can come under sales, and he wanted to be able to sign the bills, to have a sense of power and control. And I remember, Jung having said that power, leadership, and control are three important sort of, behavioral patterns that rule every relationship worldwide, any kind of relationship, and that is what he would sort of want to, have a play on. Just be able to sign the PR bills because he wanted to, feel superior and have a sense of power, leadership and control over another person who was heading the PR department. So there are these, conflicts that happen in everybody's corporate life, that you must be able to maneuver around and create a space for yourself. And when you are going out, stepping out of your, the comfort of your home and wanting to, make a career, not just earn money, which is a very important, factor, but also to have your own position because you have a certain background, your education, qualification, your skill set. You want to be able to maneuver this war path and create a space for yourself, and that's really really important for women to be able to understand that and fight for it. Really, I do believe
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Very well said. I think you've really made some very pertinent points that at the end of the day, there's a lot of toxicity, politics, mansplaining, all of that. But at the end of the day, we need to stay true to what we really want, and we need to, push our ideas in an effective manner and not be drowned in a sea of voices. Yeah. Ashita, coming back to your point, you mentioned about, toxic work culture. And if you go back to your book, there is an incident relating to Inakshi where, one of her colleagues misbehaves with her and there's a Me Too incident there, right? So when writers write such incidents, I mean, they have to write it with a certain sensitivity and maturity, which I see very clearly reflected in the incidents, the way you've conveyed it in your book. So what advice do you have? Like, how do you make it, a right balance between not sounding too preachy or too frivolous, and how do you make sure that it drives home the point?
I wish I knew how to do it, because when I was writing it, I felt this was a big challenge. The one particular thing I kept in mind while writing the book was that I did not want any sex scenes in it, because I knew I wouldn't be able to handle it. I have no idea how to write it, because we're all uh, I just feel like a teenager inside, so I don't know how to deal with that. I would do some weird stuff. So I decided I won't write it. So when I wrote this particular thing, I thought, to be very honest, heard of people facing worse problems than what I had written in the book. I
Hmm.
myself had been a victim of something much lesser but a similar issue, and it was humiliating. To be very honest, that's the first thing, and it's disgusting. That's the first thing that comes to mind, and I wanted to capture that moment, and I wanted to, you know, I know the probably the right. Many people asked me. In fact, many readers asked me that why didn't you resolve that? Why didn't she
Hmm.
go to the committee and talk to the HR and get it done? She didn't do it because many people don't do it. They don't want to jeopardize their jobs. For them, uh, if you go on the road, the justification that Inakshi gave herself in her mind was that, drunk people on the road
They
have
misbehave. Hmm.
things, if teasers, this thing happens. I mean, I don't know a single woman I've met in my life or listened to who has never been, I don't know, misbehaved with. I know, I mean, everybody I've met ever or everybody I've talked to always has an incident. And it can't all be untrue, it can't all be, I mean, untrue. So it's only when I think I started going to college and post that did these incidents stop. So I've been a victim of these incidents outside as well. So for Inakshi, it was a way of, a way of living. She thought that, yeah, this probably happens in due course. Why should I raise a complaint and jeopardize my own situation? I won't have a job. Where will I go? She had a loan hanging over her head, a 25 lakh loan. She knew that she didn't want to jeopardize that. She knew
Yeah.
that. So all these things basically decide your outcome, or decide these consequences basically decide what you do. And most of the people do not report these things. And let me tell you, people who do, the most of the actions that happen are not so drastic. They are either transferred to another location, and the girl ends up feeling like, I don't know, like a waste. Why did she even raise it? I mean, this is a very sensitive issue, and nobody wants to be in the middle of it. Nobody wants to be known as that person who.
And before the outcome, there's an inquiry, there's a panel, there's a lot of, embarrassing questions asked, leading questions asked, and it can be also mentally traumatizing for the victim as well.
Exactly, and it made sense to the character, to Inakshi, that if it was an actual thing that she could prove, like bruises, like I don't know, some hurts, something that was more tangible than the
Yeah.
slight touch or the slight words, then she might have gone. She did not have much evidence, much in the way of evidence to actually talk about her experiences. So where would she go and why should she go there? Is probably what many people do even today. That's the idea I used in writing the incident.
I mean, it is sad, but it is true. Sadly, so yeah. Hopefully, we'll be able to, convey the
Yeah.
stories where there is resolution and there is some kind of punishment to the perpetrator as well.
Well, I guess these panels are a good way. I'm so glad that I've been able to talk about it after so many years. I'd kind of relegated it to some weird locker of my mind. I was like, I'm never going to remember this ever again. So, yeah.
And not just sort of resolution given on paper or
Yeah,
law that is sort of I think these stories are extremely important because for example, Me Too, the moment it became a very woke subject, it's no longer a taboo thing. We are happy and we are sort of very on the surface happy to talk about, happy in the sense that we are very confident to talk about what Ashisha mentioned, that there's not a single woman who may not have faced misbehavior against her, or some kind of oppression
yeah,
that she might have gone through, or sexual abuse, to whatever extent, and the Me Too movement, what it's done is that it brought everything out in the open
yeah.
across global boundaries, across sort of races, and it gives a lot of confidence to say that people are willing to listen to it. So if books also touch upon those subjects which they're beginning to, it gives a whole lot of confidence and something to fall back on for women who want some kind of recourse out of it. And resolution hopefully will happen, should happen, may come about. But if you're equipped well by such literature to handle it, and you feel aided well, that's half the battle won, I think. Because you have the courage to go out and talk about it. You will have ears listening to it. You will be able to do something from others experiences. Those
Yeah,
experiences become important part of your resolution as well. And acceptance comes a lot from that too. And I think that's a very important aspect of
yeah,
handling such things, which are bound to happen. They will continue to happen. But if you're equipped well, then that's a major plus for women workers, I think.
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, there's a question here. We're going to take a couple of questions because our audience has been coming up with a lot of questions here. Who wants to take this question? What is the difference between a memoir and an autobiography, as both are based on experiences? Where does one draw a line for personal revelation in a memoir?
Well,
Who wants to
excellent question, Ranjani. Excellent question there. And there is a difference between memoir and autobiography and biography. Biography is really when you write about somebody else's life. Autobiography is when you feel that you have led an exemplary life. If you've led an enriching life so much that you can pen down your own autobiography. And memoir is typically when you talk about a certain segment of your life. So you choose certain years or certain aspect of your life, or certain part of your sort of existence that you would want to talk about. So autobiography would not be the story of your life, but it will be some exciting, entrancing segments from your life that you want to write about, and that would be a memoir really. And where does one draw a line for personal revelation in a memoir? Memoirs need to be absolutely brutally honest. That's again, whether people do that or not, but the given rule is that memoirs must be brutally honest. You must be able to, write all the real stuff that happened in your life without any kind of whitewashing and it's sort of, putting a coat of paint over it. Really, that's my take. Really.
So memoirs are autobiographies. What ought to have happened and how you made that happen.
Absolutely, that's right.
Like, nice word there. I think she's getting it from our agent Suhail Mathur. Suhail Mathur does amazing
Yes.
word
He's a
plays, by
pun
the way.
master.
Yeah, she's getting it from there.
Ashisha, do you have anything to add to this question? Else I can take the next one.
I think ma'am has covered everything, and I just feel that we all have certain experiences which are worth mentioning, which are worth talking about. So I think the whole idea of people penning down memoirs has gone up. So we have so many memoirs these days, and it's a good thing. I think the freedom that we have to write about the things that we've lived. So I think that's amazing.
So, question from Mithila: how to balance engagement for readers, information, and non-judgmental narration while writing a memoir? Did you face such challenges when you had to rewrite episodes to make them balanced? I think we partly covered it in the Me Too incident as well on how you bring that sensitivity and manage it. But yeah, if there's anything else you would like to add here.
Well, I think it often non-judgmental narration is, I think, important for any writer whenever you write anything. As a writer, I think it's our responsibility to not take any sides, to not talk about any one thing, and look at it from two sides, both the sides, and then write everything. This is what I feel as a writer. Yes, reader engagement. Sometimes, and even when I was writing my book, I felt that a lot of sales had come into it. A lot of people said that, initially when I was getting it beta read, they said that, lessen the sales part of it, because otherwise people will get bored because they don't care what you do on a daily basis. A friend of mine who read it a while back, she said, there was a lot of telecom lingo in there. I don't know if other people understood it. But I decided to keep the sales part because that was the heart of the book. That was why I wrote the book, because it was something which was new for me. So that is something which a writer decides. Do you want to balance it? Do you want to give this particular the reader engagement a lot of importance, or do you want to balance it out with because at the end of the day you cannot please every reader. Your book
Yeah.
is not for every reader. Your book is only targeted at certain readers who would find your book relatable and would be able to identify with your characters. So, for instance, for my book, I think a lot of the people who've done MBA or who've, just passed out of college have started their jobs, and even those who are currently in a current
Yeah.
job would be able to identify pretty well. In addition to people from the south, I've received a good response from people in Chennai and TN, and I've seen that they have really identified with the character pretty well. In fact, someone also told me that I this is almost the best narration, the best written South Indian geography, South Indian narration or South Indian story written by a North Indian, and that is amazing for me.
The Chennai geography. I think I remember that comment. They said that you described Chennai very well.
Yes,
One of the
Chennai very well.
yes.
Yeah, not just geography, but also the culture, the people. And so I think that is a compliment. And that can only come when, as a writer, you leave all prejudices and all your personal feelings and then write like you are no one. Like Arya Stark, if you guys are GOD fans, like I am no one, I have no name, something like that. So, yeah.
Aruna, is there anything else you'd like to add here?
Well, I feel that I maintain that when you write something, you are doing it in a manner that you're going to be naturally so leave a legacy behind, whether you like it or not. Our books are going to outlive us long after we've sort of kicked the bucket and we're gone, and they're hopefully going to be read and referenced time and again. So, whether you want to be judgmental or non-judgmental, I think what you really want to must bear in mind is that you must do it with a lot of sensitivity and with a lot of need to be able to make the larger difference. I think that responsibility rests on writers because we have the power to use our word to make a difference and to help make change. We are important change agents. So that bearing must be
Absolutely.
borne by writers. We have a sense of responsibility. Um, as far as the narration is concerned, again, you have to get out of that sense of hubris. A lot of people say that, oh, I write to please myself, I write for myself, but that's not true. You are getting published because you want the world to read you, and
Absolutely.
every writer at the end of the day, whether they are even home-based writers or writers of diaries, they would want, or maybe some a limerick or a poem here, they would want to be able to read that poem out to somebody, their mother, their sibling, or whatever. So every writer needs an ear, needs a pair of eyes to read this stuff. So you owe it to yourself and you owe it to the readers that your narration should be so good that people will enjoy it. They will either learn from it, or they'll have fun reading it, or they'll have a blast going through your book. It has to be that good. So you again have a responsibility for making your narration
Yeah.
absolutely as perfect as you can. And the third point they talked about was what was it, non-judgmental narration, and there was one more part of the question, the beginning of the question.
I think it was regarding the
um,
sensitivity and how do you balance and how do you make it non-judgmental.
yeah,
Reader
we
Um,
talked
engagement.
about that, right? Reader
yeah, we talked
engagement,
about
yes.
that. Yeah.
So yeah, again with reader engagement, you again, you're not writing for, of course, writing brings you pleasure, and you're
Yeah.
talking about your stories, whether it's fictional or non-fictional. So that you're already going through a pleasure ride when you are writing your book. But you have to be able to make sure that you engage your readers. Your storytelling should be so fantastic and so compelling that the readers are fully involved and immersed in your work
Right.
of literary art. So I guess all three aspects are extremely, extremely important.
Aruna, there's one question that I wanted to ask you. So you have worked with like the who's who of art, cinema, sports, and with big names in cinema like Madhuri Dixit and my favorite Jackie Shroff and Sunny Deol. Did you ever feel intimidated? I mean, did you feel like tongue tied? Like, how do you manage to be so confident and calm while shaking hands with people like the who's who of everything?
If I could answer your question in a very funny way, the book, which is now called Hotel Adventures with the Stars, was going to be called Not So Star Stuck. Till Suhail stepped in and said, no, don't do that, because one, Not everybody would understand, why you're calling that, why you're using that title. It won't be so sort of, reader friendly. And the other thing is that it feels that it shows that you're cocking a look at a celebrity that you won't care, two hoots about what they are. I have cared about celebrities, but during the course of my career, from the very beginning, and I began as a feature writer with Himachal Times in back in Dehradun, where I was already meeting and hobnobbing with, well-known faces like Ruskin Bond and some famous, musicians and Bolshoi theater artists and all that. I've not had stars in my eyes. I've not been sort of intimidated by their, aura and persona. I've not been like that. Even at the age of 19, I remember meeting Sanjay Dutt as if he was just another, well, a known person, definitely, and a very good-looking, superstar at that point of time when I met him, but not somebody that I had to, sort of feel intimidated by. So much that, when he asked me, would you not like to take my address, to send me a fan letter? I said, no, I think you should take mine, because then at least I know for sure that you want to communicate with me. At 19, I was, happily saying that to a superstar. And then on, I've not really, whether it was a Paul Simon or, the Princess of Thailand or Princess Anne from the UK. No one has not been sort of tongue-tied or sort of, intimidated or overawed by their larger than life persona. They're just like that at the end of the day, and they're nice people, especially
Oh,
our
they're
hero,
very
for
nice.
example. Yeah, and to talk about Mr. Shroff, and if you see that in people, if they can do that, why can't we? Jackie Shroff would make everybody feel the same, all the time, whether it's a steward or the stewarding person of a company. It's the same in his eyes. He wished my German Shepherd daughter Barkan baby just the same way as he had wished Mr. Bachchan on his birthday. So you learn that thing from him as well. Everybody's the same at the end of the day. They're no different. They may be all good and bad people within the same person, and they're as interesting as they're meant to be, but they're not anybody to sort of feel overawed with. So yeah, you know uh,
Yeah.
there's that.
So there's a question from Monica. So Aashisha, will you be able to take this? So while structuring a memoir, which is preferable, a chronological telling or one that goes back and forth? I've read quite a few which follow a non-linear chronology, and I'm interested to know your perspective about this based on your experience.
Of course, the easiest way to write is a chronological telling, but a fun way to write it and even to read it would be, going back and forth. You show one particular incident at one particular time, and then you go on another incident. I especially enjoy an epistolary format. I've enjoyed books by Justine Garda, and he uses a lot of different formats to write. So in The Orange Girl, he used a lot of letters being sent. In Sophie's World, he used the concept of a book inside a book. So I would love to experiment. I mean, to go back and forth. Even I think Ashwin Sanghi has used this particular thing, the present and the past. But yes, it requires a lot of finesse by the writer, and it should not confuse the reader. The reader should not get worked up thinking that, oh, where am I, which timeline or time zone am I? But if done well, it can land. If it lands well, it can be super awesome. And some of the best authors have done it. If you were to give me a choice, I think I would experiment with a different timeline and not a chronological telling. But I think till date I've only done that. I mean, that's the easiest and the foolproof one. So I've, only done that.
Because sometimes jumping around timelines can also confuse the reader and take attention from your plot, right? So maybe
You
chronology.
need, you need a very elaborate Excel sheet talking about the plots, the outline. This is what's happening, flow charts and stuff. So I've not
So
gone to
yeah,
those
they're
details.
confusing because you're writing a 60,000 or a 70,000 one. You forget, you're writing halfway and you forget what you mentioned in the first chapter. So you need that Excel sheet. Like, I can't imagine how, Game of Thrones was written. I don't even remember half of the people. I think that's why he stopped writing, I guess, after a while.
I'm quite annoyed with him, by the way. He's not getting the final book out, and I'm like, this is terrible. But I completely understand his feelings. The way he must be, or the way a writer must be charting out characters. Writing fantasy must be a headache. Initially, it's pleasurable for the reader, but it's a headache for the writer to create a world and then, create rules and basically be the creator, the god. So I'm gradually discovering these things as I keep writing, as I keep work. I mean, I keep writing the next books. I realize how tough it is, how difficult it is. Writing about your own life is far easier because you've lived it and you can give it a certain touch. Making something from scratch and working around with timelines, as Monica mentioned, going back and forth. I think all these are super scary.
There's another question from Deepa. While sharing personal experiences, do you feel most women feel comfortable in presenting their stories from third point of view or as fiction? Aruna, would you like to take that one?
Well, it depends on the kind of book you want to bring out. For instance, Aashisha had a very important point right in the beginning of our conversation, where she said that she wanted to bring her. It's semi-autobiographical in the sense that she's talked about her experience in the domain of sales, but she's made it to a fiction book, and that sort of that veneer gave her the comfort and the courage and the space to be able to tell her story without really uncomforting herself, discomforting herself too much. In my case, in my book, I wanted to be able to come out front and talk about the memoir, the way things happened, and there was no issue of discomfort or displeasure that I wanted to sweep under the carpet. I was having to talk about everything in the stories that I have mentioned. So it really depends on the kind of book the protagonist or the writer wants to talk about. If you want to do a personal experience, which is I'm working on another book which is based on grief, and I'm very happy because I feel that that's going to be an important subject because especially after the pandemic we've all dealt with grief in such an integral, intense manner. Grief of different shades and form. And that book again, I want to be able to come out and talk about my personal experiences. I call myself the favorite child of loss, and I want to be able to talk about it in as candid a fashion as I can. But if there was a book that I wanted to talk about, say on Me Too, for instance, maybe in that I would want to sort of get under the camouflage periodically and not be able to yet keeping the main focus and purpose of my book in mind, be able to at least either fictionalize or to sort of put a layer to the experience or to a layer of how I want to express myself in that particular book. So it really boils down to the kind of book you want to bring out. Of course, your own comfort level as well, and it's not really gender specific, but the kind of story you wish to tell really comes down to that deeper.
It's a very valid point. So it's a kind of story that decides which approach is
Yes,
best, which
yes, yes, yes.
And on the approach, there's another question. So Aashisha, would you like to pick this one up? Can a memoir be in conversational style, conversational tone, since it experiences and recollections? Does it go well with the style, easy to relate?
Absolutely. I think conversational styles work with most genres, and especially with memoirs and experiences, recollections, memories. An easy style, a simple, breezy, light kind of a writing really helps because otherwise one can get a little confused. Not every reader would be able to open a dictionary and check words every time. So I think conversational style helps in any kind of genre. But most of all, if it's a memoir, then it makes more sense to most of us maintain diaries or have diaries and journals and stuff, so it can read like that. When I was younger, I used to read the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and I used to read other diaries, the Diary of Anne Frank, I mean, many other diaries, and I used to imagine writing a diary. So I remember when this particular book was to be titled, I first wanted to title it 25, and then Suhail, our agent, of the book bakers, he is always on point and has amazing insights. He said, "Don't give
So
such cryptic titles. Don't give such cryptic titles." He said, "Let's do Misadventures of a Sales Girl." In fact, no, before that I said I wanted to make it the Diary of a Sales Girl. Yeah. After 25, he said, "Don't go for this cryptic thing." And I said, "Okay, I want to make it Diary of a Sales Girl or Sales Diaries or something." But then he said, "No, let's make it a little more attractive. Let's try Misadventures of a Sales Girl." So I think that I said, I've said before, his wordplay is fantastic. So that's where it all comes from. But yeah, I feel that whole diary feel gets you into a personal reading mode and you feel more connected to the author. So this kind of a tone definitely helps in a memoir.
So is your sequel going to be called Mrs. Adventures of a Salesgirl? Because now you're married. Sorry.
Maybe.
Again, Nisha's voicing no.
Yeah, many people ask me this actually. I haven't thought of the name yet. I've not even started writing it. And in fact, during my wedding this January, someone came up, and said, is this the same guy in the book? And I'm like, no. First of all, there was no guy actually in my life. No, and then they said that probably it's the same. I said no. First of all, there was no guy in Chennai in my life, and secondly, he came much later, so it's like a whole different thing. But it's fun. But I've not thought of the sequel name yet. I have to first write it, and then I'll disclose the name. We'll do a cover launch.
Okay, so this question is for Aruna. Most of the times we see a caricature-like representation of Bollywood stars. What is your take on this enigmatic tribe in general?
Most time you see caricature. Well, first I want to go back to the earlier question. I feel like I want to add to that when
Sure.
she talked about the conversation style of writing. I have a slightly different take on that, because I maybe a bit old school. All the famous writers we have read, including the current one, the flavor of the season, Shashi Tharoor. I feel that we owe a lot to the language as well. While Chetan Bhagat ends up, being read a lot, and they say that he's brought reading out in fashion, back in
Yeah.
fashion. But what has he done to the world of writing? I dread to sort of, uh, unacknowledge, if I can use a word like that. So I feel as writers, without really making it very pedantic or very sort of, bookish, you owe it to yourself and to the readers to, bring out the niceness and the fantastic, world of language out on paper. The writing conversationally is all very fine, but when you are doing writing a book, I think we must maintain that there is a nice fondness of language and the love for language that must come out in books, which I'm sure readers will, end up appreciating. Yes, we don't want to sort of, go back to dictionary to, thump, but we don't have to thump through big books anymore. It's there on our hand device. So if we are at the end of the day also learning fantastic words and acquiring beautiful expression of language, it's a win-win, I think, both for the reader and the writer. And that's what I wanted to convey. Really, that's one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and going back to the current question about, yeah, I mean that's because I think the celebrities end up becoming, or are part of the, very very popular world, of our lives, and so people love to paint them as caricatures, whether it's in sitcoms, or it's in, articles, or it's even on YouTube. Facet of theirs is shown, at the airport, so and so behaved like this, or a such and such person behaved like that in a private party. But there is a time and space for that. Celebrities are people at the end of the day. They need not be caricatured all the time. They should not be, caricatured. Uh, yes, okay, there is something that you don't want to talk about because you want to get your own TRPs and you want to gain more eyeballs for your, book, or for your comic strip, so to say, or for your, YouTube. But I guess it's not really required. Most of the time, it should not be done like that. If you talk about a celebrity, talk about the good experience, bad experience. If you're doing a biography, keep it to the subject and to their life instead of really caricaturizing it or sensationalizing it. I think that's not really needed.
And some of them do have a very different off-screen persona. And I have to share this
Yes,
anecdote
yes.
because I'm dying to share it with everybody. I wrote a review of Aruna's book. In her book, she mentioned that, Jackie Shroff called her Bhiru. So then I had major FOMO. So I wrote in my review, I wish Jackie Shroff would call me Bhiru. Aruna ma'am is so sweet. She sent a message to Jackie Shroff. And he sent me an audio recording in which he says, Lalita ji, Vanakkam Bhiru. And that has been like the most exciting thing that has happened in the
That's
last
right.
year for me.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I have religiously sent that clip to everyone I know.
And see, Lalita, you mentioned that because the way Mr. And to take an example of Mr. Shroff himself, the way he carries himself, the way he conveys himself or portrays himself in front of people in a very funny manner, and he'll have a banter with people, or he will thumb somebody's back, or maybe use a soft expletive to sort of be friendly with somebody, or he'll the kind of way he dresses out, which people may laugh about, because oh, he's coming at a Pori style, or he's worn a dhoti, which is not a common sort of garment that they see people, men in all the time, but for certain regions. But at the end of the day, look at what he went, how far he went out to make you happy, to make me happy. And so celebrities like that need not be caricaturized, because he's such a nice person. At the end of the day, he didn't have done any of that, and that's true with a whole lot of people, really. So we should not really go out of the way and step out of line to characterize celebrities. I think that's not a very nice thing to do.
So there's one last question here. I think with that question we'll close the session. So I can't find it here. I'll just read it out. When writing a memoir, introspection is bound to creep in. How do you manage to retain the freshness and not let the wisdom that comes from looking at your life in retrospect from coming in? Aashisha, do you want to take that question?
It's quite a complicated question. When writing a memoir,
Yeah.
introspection is bound to creep in. Yes, introspection is happening at all points of time when you're writing.
It's like,
And
how
how
do
do you
you
maintain
keep it crisp and not preachy?
Yeah, good one. How do you not preach? Okay. I think it happens, as I said, uh, I'm quite marvel at the fact that Aruna ma'am remembers all the incidents. I don't remember anything from last week. I'm one like a storm. I don't remember anything. So it's more important for me to kind of write things down. But I personally feel that whenever we face certain events, certain incidents, they leave a deep impression on our minds. And scientifically, it's proven that everything remains either on certain levels, and then you need certain triggers to get them out. Um, so we cannot actually retain the freshness of the incidents. I feel we just look at those things that we've already faced with a new light, in new eyes, and then we look back in retrospect and realize that, oh, this is what happened, and this is what we should have done. And I think this is what happens. Every moment is fresh, and every moment is also past. So whatever we look, I mean, whatever, so say 1 week ago, whatever happened to me, I have a different perspective of it right now. So that is one. When you say not let the wisdom that comes from looking at your life in retrospect from coming in, I think the wisdom that seeps in from all these experiences is important for us. And that's what makes us individuals. So all the learnings that we receive from all these incidents that happen to us, I think that makes our stories more powerful, more impactful, and they give that flavor, the truth flavor. And I believe I would uh, always listen to the inner voice that's trying to tell me that, this is what you should have done, or this is what we need to do, or all these things happen. So introspection is the key to writing in any case. And the deeper we go, the more things we develop and discover about ourselves. And writing memoirs, I think this is the key element when we're doing this. I think, I don't know, I might have to say something about it.
Aruna,
You
you're on
mean,
mute. Mute.
I said I would want to answer that question with just one word answer. That would be relatability. In my, and you're right. You do introspect. You do sort of do a back and forth on your sort of life that plays out in your head when you're writing your memoir. But for instance, in Hotel Adventures with the Stars, there are some stories that date back to when I was 5, or 10, or 19, or stories back from the 90s. And when I'm told from readers, and a whole lot of that kind of feedback has come out, that people felt that the things were happening before them. The stories were such that they could see it was a film running in their head, or they were part of it, or it was happening with them here and now. And I think that boils down to relatability. Without really being preachy, or without really sort of just writing for your own pleasure. If you bring out stories in a manner that people can relate with, and they resonate with the readers, I think that's a big win then. and that's important in memoirs, I think.
Absolutely. I think we've reached the end of our session. We have overshot, and so sorry about that, but the audience has been really engaging. And I think it's time to declare our winners for our top 4 questions. Aruna, would you like to list out your top 2?
Well, regardless of one question or the second question, I felt Khushbu Shah was very engaging and very sort of involved. So I would like to pick her as one of the winners.
Okay.
And the second was Monica and actually Ranjani. They have a tie there, just with their enthusiasm and with their involvement and with the diversity of the questions. So really, Ranjani or Monica, one of the two.
Aashisha, your top 2?
Wow. So this is a difficult question, and I would go with Natasha and also Monica. Yes. So I think I don't remember a lot of the others, so I might have even Shubham's point, but I think that was not a question. So maybe yeah.
So I think we
So I
have our
think
top 4 now. We have
Natasha and
Monica,
Yes.
Ranjani, Khushbu, and Natasha.
And Natasha, that's right.
Congratulations, you have won books, and we will be in touch with you. I'd like to conclude this session with a quote from Aashisha's book. Time, like light, decides the way it moves around people. I've been with 2 wonderful people, and time has gone like, the speed of light. I've not even known that we've overshot. It's close to 11 p.m. and I want to continue talking. And the audience has been phenomenal. The kind of questions that they've asked. It's been such an interactive session. So a huge thank you to both of you for being so insightful and sharing your personal experiences. Yeah, it's been a very insightful session. And thanks to the audience for such active participation and enthusiasm. Thanks to Penmancy for this wonderful platform. And finally, last but not least, thank you, technology gods, for keeping my connection alive.
Yes, thank you, thank you. A quick word of thank you to our wonderful literary agent 𝗔𝗿𝗵𝗶𝗿, who is our Sutradhar, our Sarathi for I call him my Sarathi. To my publishers, Vishwakarma, who sort of brought the book into the flesh and blood of it. To Penmancy for creating such a fantastic platform. For the drama queen Lalitha for being such a effervescent host, and to my lovely co-author, my fellow author Aashisha, happy to share our platform again with her once again. Really, so wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Likewise, it was great to share the platform with both of my fellow authors. And Lalitha, I'm looking forward to your book coming out. And thanks, a super thank you to 𝗔𝗿𝗵𝗶𝗿 and Book Bakers for bringing us together, and for Penmancy and Kajal for giving us such a beautiful introduction. Thank you guys for staying in and on a Friday night. So go Friday. Have fun.
Hope to see more memoirs and autobiographies coming out soon. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you for the new word. Good night.